Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another chapter of Experiencer Interviews. And today we've got another amazing soul coming to us from Canada. We have Jeff Selver on, coming back for a part three. In December of 1997, Jeff experienced the Rising, which was an agreement with gray aliens to discover his soul. The Rising required him to take a leap of faith, sell all of his possessions, and begin a life traveling from place to place. What unfolds is truly an epic adventure of removal from society and living close to nature, all while having contact events with gray aliens without his knowing. In summary, it is 26 contact events with gray aliens told in amazing detail and spread out from years 1993 to 2017. Fundamentally, Jeff was shown that what humans understand about spirituality, life after death, dimensions, God, the soul, and psychic powers are just the beginning of what these beings are all about, and that their capacity, understanding, and utilization of these is much greater than humans can imagine. Jeff's story shows that the only way we will ever be able to understand the Greys is to understand the power of our own personal spiritual potential. Jeff is also the author of the books The Rising and The Alien Plan to Build an Enlightened City on Earth, and The Rising Workbook, How to Create Your Own Rising. So Jeff, thank you so much for coming on for part three.
Yeah, Mr. Gray, thanks for having me. So happy to be back. Yeah, great.
So we last interview, part two, we finished the interview with the story regarding how you met your wife. I'd
Yeah.
like to maybe skip to chapter 15, which talks about you traveling to Venus. Now, how did that
Yes.
come about?
Yeah, Venus. Okay, so this was the first contact event when I started my traveling period. And I'm actually about to release it's going to come out soon, maybe the next couple of weeks, but more detail about the Rising, the experiment that they had done with me. And I found the book that caused it, the book that the entities used. So there was a physical book that I ended up reading that gave me the message to leave to travel. And it produced this consciousness thing in me that is very hard for the public to wrap their head around. But I've appreciated so many people who've believed the story, because even though it's kind of so far out there, the reality is that it has a lot of components that other contactees can recognize, or other experiencers can recognize, or other researchers can recognize. So many people know it to be real, even though there's something so baffling in it that I'd read a physical book that the aliens had me read, or that was synchronistically put in my life, that launched me to go traveling. And then the traveling period was very significant in the contact events. I saw the crafts visually often, without knowing I was having contact. I saw orbs and such in the sky. And the contact events were actually more extreme and more detailed and more specific to their agenda on the planet. So it's a very important period, this whole traveling section. And the reason I left was because of them, something they had done to my everyday life. So the bottom line is that I had been traumatized actually by it. So this thing, I'd read this book, and the public will see very soon. I won't release any of that info here because it's just so wild. But having a consciousness event when you don't know the origin of it, and then it's labeled behind a book, whatever the group is of these individuals who write the book, it becomes a weird discordance in the consciousness of the individual because you can't resolve it. It's a strange, you'll see. Anyway, bottom line was that I was traumatized from this book because it produced something so extreme in me, and it gave me a message to travel. So I listened, and now at that point I was about 6 weeks into traveling. So I was for me, it was a spiritual travel period, like talking to individuals I could meet on the in shopping centers, or if I was picking up someone hitchhiking, or I went to a meditation group, and I was constantly in this spiritual mode, trying to understand what had happened to me, but also trying to make use of it because it felt like I should talk to people about spirituality. So whatever was in me, there was this desire to be more spiritual. And so about I eventually had a visioning success that told me to go traveling. Sorry, told me to go. Sorry, let me back that up. I had a visioning success where I got $2,000 in my person. I visioned money when I ran out, and I got $2,000, and it was pretty magical. I used that money for a backpack, a tent, for some kind of extra camping goods to make me more independent while traveling. And I kind of felt and had some idea that I wanted to go to Hornby Island. And someone had actually told me about Hornby Island, and Hornby Island is here on the Vancouver. It's in Vancouver. It's the Gulf Islands, basically northern Gulf Islands. And so that was my plan, to backpack to Hornby Island for a weekend. I was living out of my car, so I put my car at Buckley Bay on Vancouver Island and close to the ferry. And I basically got on the ferry and hitchhiked across and spent one night on Denman Island and then basically made it to Hornby Island. And I knew to go to um, Tribune Bay. And it's a beautiful, right now you can't camp there, but at the time it was, a lot looser. And this was the early 90s, or yeah, sorry, late 90s, 98 actually. And I was able to camp right on just up from the beach on the field. And so I put my camp tent there, and I was eating dinner. I'm pretty certain now it's the night I showed up. So I'm eating dinner, and I'm eating from a pot. And I'm facing east, and to the east, something kind of arises really fast. So it actually shoots up, sorry, at an angle like this, and it stays, and then it remains stationary. But I'm eating while it's happening, and I'm caught off guard by it. And so I'm like, it's the angle it came at, and the way it remained stationary was kind of all my peripheral. So you're like, did I just witness that? What is this thing, and why is it sitting there now? And it was the color of a flare. So it was basically like pink, red pink. And I knew there was an army base in the area, but I am now, all these years later, incorrect that it was nothing to do with Navy and everything. It was an Air Force base. And there was no real activity other than just this red silent object that flew up. And it was also really close. So I was having trouble understanding what it was. And I just lent to a logical conclusion, must be a flare. And all these years later, it was uncharacteristic of a flare. It didn't smoke. It didn't do anything that acted like a flare. It remained stationary, just remaining bright and lighting up the forest below it. And I kept eating, kept eating, kept eating. And its length for how long it stayed there started to weird me out. And then I remember kind of thinking about it and looking at it, not knowing what was going on. And then it actually lowered, and it seemed very controlled. But I was like, okay, that was just something, and I don't know what it was. But then I had a weird feeling that something was in the forest now, and I couldn't shake that. I ate my food. It's time to go to bed, washed my dishes. And right before I'm going to bed, I'm standing in front of my tent and I'm looking at the forest in the direction of that object. Part of me wants to go and check out what it was. Part of me like the young kid wants to go and explore in the middle of the night and go into that forest and see if I can find what that was. Another part of me says, don't do that. And then I kind of had an intuition that I didn't know if I felt safe even in my tent. And then I kind of felt it out in my heart. Felt, no, I feel safe. It's okay. I think whatever this was, I don't know, but I should go to bed. And when I go to bed, I have a contact event and I don't know it. And this is one of the greatest hints at the time when I'm not aware that I'm having contact, because I woke up that night saying they were here. And it's the first time ever I had said something like that, and I never say it ever again. And I had a very distinct, whatever caused that consciousness event, I always believed there was an extra force, an outside force that had made it happen, because there were some synchronicities and things in my life at the time that made me feel that way. So then I was suspicious that some other force was involved. And so here I am waking up after seeing an orb and going into my bed. I'm now saying they were here. And I just, that was the first thing I said when I woke up. And I had a weird dream too that disturbed me actually. And when I got up from the tent, there was a woman outside my tent. And she must have been, this was middle of the night. I think I had to like go urinate, like just a quick pee or something. And and she must have been 20 or 30 feet from the tent. Very weird. And I was immediately weirded out. Orb, I'm saying in the tent that they were here, and now there's a weird woman standing by my tent. And that didn't all add up to me. And then I was kind of weirded out by her presence. The hair was blowing and the dress was blowing, and she was facing the moon. I was left with this haunting impression, but I was also uncomfortable in case it was like I just didn't want to disturb her. And I'm a weird guy in my underwear. So taking a pee in the bushes. So I was trying to be quick and get back in. And then the next day, when I had woken up, I had felt that the object I had seen had been on the field. And I didn't understand that. I didn't understand, why did I feel that the orb that I had seen earlier in that night had been on the field. Like I'd walked out to the field and I could feel it had been there. And I didn't even know what that meant. I didn't have any understanding of any of this, and none of it made sense. And I just knew that something had happened that night, but I didn't know what had happened. And that's how it got left. And I didn't think about it too much more. Now, what really happened? Let me share that part. So the entities, having done this consciousness thing with me for the first 7 contact events, my awareness was easily bifurcated at this point. It's the only way I can frame it. That I'd seen the afterlife as a 16-year-old, and then they're able to separate out those memories. And I now have more understanding about how they've done that. It's not relevant 100% here to mention this, but the bottom line is that part of it is the awareness of identity. You have a couple things that matter. Timelessness is part of it. The frequency the entities are coming in, because they're alternating in a different frequency. But another is the identity you take on with the entities. And when you can't imagine that you're that person, it's an easy bifurcation. So you really can't open the awareness up when you don't know who you are in their presence. And so here I am. Basically, that awareness is easy to bifurcate. So what ended up happening is the memory starts with being aware in the tent. And what I'm convinced now happens is the entities are pulling me out of my body. And I'm staying in stasis in the tent, but I'm not aware of that. And I just think I'm me. And as I'm in the tent, so I guess I must be like kind of being pulled out or something. I'm sitting there looking, I can see lights on the beach. And I'm thinking there's something on the beach. It must be a car. And I can hear kind of a hum or a low buzz. And then the next memory is I'm outside of the tent. And what I'm convinced of is I'm just a blob spirit. I'm a spirit thing that's been pulled out. And I'm frozen in the position I'm in. So I'm not able to move. And there is the orb is on the beach, or on the field. And I'm kind of like facing one way, and everything is happening to my left. So I'm facing in a certain spot. I'm not able to move. Yet I'm not aware of my identity with the entities. So I'm quite terrified. And I now know what's happening. They're purposely giving me the answer. They're solving the ego problem to the consciousness event. They're giving the answer saying, yes, there was another presence involved. So they're solving it subconsciously for my everyday awareness. It's really crazy how they are very meticulous about how to handle human psyches. And the object is flaring. It's literally flaring. It's doing something absolutely crazy. And I'm like, oh, and it's got this band of red light. And I'm standing there. And then all of a sudden the red light, like all the lights turn off on the craft. It's just a metallic object. A ramp opens up, and the elder, or at the time I don't know it, and a thing floats out of it. And I'm still me, this whatever I am, this removed awareness from my body, and I'm freaking out. And I hear a voice saying, "It's okay." It's okay. And for me, it looks like a skull. So I see a floating skull, and it's moving towards me. And then about somewhere between the middle of it floating through the field, it brings the awareness back. Does it do it? I don't know. Maybe the craft does it. I don't know. But all of a sudden, I become the quote unquote, the me that knows them, the guy who has the memory of all the contact events. When that happens, I'm convinced I materialize. So It's bilocation is the best way to frame this. It's materialized bilocation. My body is still in the physical tent, and now I've materialized fully. When I become the me that knows him, I'm wearing my clothes, I'm wearing the jacket, and I'm wearing my boots. Even though I think there's physical boots and jackets and everything all in the tent, I've materialized with them all. And there's a whole science here behind the bilocation, which I'm actually aware of some of these details, having a Sadhguru in my life. But this is what the state I'm in with this contact event. I'm pretty certain now. And the entity is now flying over. And what's happened is the trauma of the mystery of the consciousness event. All of a sudden, I become aware of its origins. So I'm haunted when the consciousness event started in December of 1997, and I didn't leave till February of 1998. And then even from February to this moment, 6 weeks in, my brain has like been spending all its energy trying to understand what this was and what was happening to me. And now I have the answer. I was part of an experiment, or this was an agreement with these crazy gray aliens now. And now I'm like, wow. And it's this whole break that happens. The awareness is absolutely no human can ever understand this. And I still haven't found anyone who has my type of contact. And this pain is just something no human could ever know about. And I can only write about it and only talk about it. And so the bottom line is I'm bawling now. I'm actually in pain from the isolation of what had happened, and from the isolation of how what the consciousness event had was kind of isolating me in my world, and I had removed myself from all of society. And now it was for the spirit, and there was a transformation that did occur, and the science of what had occurred on their behalf is fascinating. So I can be detached all these years later, and I'm healed from all this pain, but it's still very fascinating. So there is a positive to it. But the bottom line is the elder places herself in front of me, and I think the first thing I say, and I'm certain I yell it, "You told me you'd be there for me. You told me there you'd have my back." And they said this in the sixth contact event. And then she's all very compassionate. It's all actually quite sweet. Just like we were there for, and everything's like all communicated through the eyes, and yeah, she basically plants herself like directly in front of me, and all the eyes are just communicating compassion. And she says, "We were, you would have felt us. We were there for you, but you would have felt us, but we couldn't reveal ourselves to you." And then it's right, because I even write in my journal that I felt like aliens were there, or like something was there. I could feel another presence was involved. So she's actually saying something that was accurate. I would have felt them. Well, I did. I did feel that they were there, but I didn't know. I didn't know how to put the two together. And I start bawling, and it's a type of pain and bawling that was fully encompassing. It's like when you're with them, you're exposed in this kind of very subconscious state. So it's like the pain was actually much more deeper. And I was just like bawling, and I didn't realize, but she had grabbed my hand, and now we were both floating. And so I'm crying, and we're both floating, and we're floating back to this object. Now, I'm actually convinced I'm in some type of astral state, right? Bilocated, materialized state. So I'm in a different type of state than a normal physical state. So my sensual awareness is different. It's not as consistent or not as specific as maybe another contact event where I'm having my body involved. And so I holding her hand is just feels like it's an encompassing, like she's caring, like she's basically cocooned us both. And we are floating back, and I'm bawling, and I just feel love. I feel love. I feel a lot of compassion and a lot of love, and a lot of care. And I know from the human perspective that people would say, "Oh, they've done this to you," and it might be true, but I also would agree. And number two is, they have a detached perspective, but still have compassion. But they can't involve themselves the way that we think they can. And there is some limits, and I'm aware of these things now. But so yeah, we land in front of the craft. and I know to go follow her, and we both walk in, and now I'm inside this object, and it's a 20-foot tall. My best is that it's a 20-foot tall sphere, metallic sphere, and we walked inside, and there were two tall gray aliens here as well, and they feel like the medical beings I've been uh, at this point consistently interacting with when there was some kind of medical issue. There's a taller being, a tall gray alien, and there's these two tall guys here, and now it's the four of us. And I guess the door, closes, and it does look like we start rising, and the kind of main tall gray alien gets on the controls, and there's medical beds in this uh spherical object, and I kind of like sit on the side of one of the beds, and I'm crying, and she just places herself right beside me, and compassion, compassion, compassion is just like oozing from her eyes, and I'm like, what's going to happen to me? Because I don't understand. As a 20-year-old, you think like an event like this is everything for your life. And now that you failed, you're just a big failure, and everything has been screwed up. And it really plays out like that in my head. And so I'm like, what's going to happen to me? And she's like, you're going to live out your life. So she's all detached, but she's oozing compassion, but she's just everything is very straightforward and detached. You're going to live out your life. I'm like, but I can't. I'm living a lie. So right now I know the answer to the consciousness event. So I'm like, I'm living a lie. I can't. And she's like, I know it's going to be hard, but you're going to have to. There's more to come. You'll see. There's more that's to come with us, or something like that. I'm like, I didn't understand. I thought this was the end of my time with them. So I didn't really get it. I didn't understand what we were doing. I didn't understand why they were in my life. I like the whole thing was just filled with like perplexing questions. I didn't understand anything. Why are they still here then? And so that was it. I was crying, and then I see the screen. There's a monitor in the object craft, and the craft is floating up, and I can see it's going into outer space, and I can see that we're moving into an object. And so there's some type of like base or something, and we then all of a sudden it's like just like that. We're inside. So there was no bay door or anything, and I can see relatively we're in some type of hangar, and I am still emotional, and I'm not really clear what to do. And then the object lands, and then the door opens, and the craft and the entities get out, and I'm like, uh, like, and I basically say something to the elder along the lines of like, I don't know how to do this. Like I'm really too lost. Here's the emotional kid who, 20-year-old who went through the most magical events while simultaneously calling it a living hell. So that, when something is given to something that's really extreme, there's also a big valley, right? So that's kind of what this is. I'm in the middle of the valley while something massive happened to me that was out of this world, the consciousness event back in 1997. So I'm living now with the consequences of it, and I'm really broken, and I can't figure out what to do. And so I'm like, I don't know how to do this. And what I also mean is that when I was on craft before all these times, before the consciousness event, before I left to go traveling, they were developing me and built, I saw the afterlife. I had this higher self embedded in my body, and there was this dimensional me almost going on, and they had been doing work on me. And that me was confident. It was exposed. So it was very like all the subconscious was open and vulnerable. It's this state of vulnerability I was in with them that now I'm damaged, and I couldn't like rectify what was going on. So I'm kind of asking her, and so I'm asking her in the craft. The other two entities have left, and I'm like, what do I do? She basically like links eyes with me, and angelic this angelic light comes out of her one of her eyes, and it's like going into my brain, and maybe she's rewiring some things, but the gist of what she's doing is answering my brain, or at least my mind, because I guess my brain isn't there because I'm in this some other type of astral state here. But she's giving answers to my mind, and it's basically consoling and saying, you didn't do anything wrong. You're learning. we're here with you. Don't worry. Like all these things that I needed answers to that she wasn't able to, maybe in a very clear telepathic way that humans need. She wasn't able to provide that. But with this light, it kind of like entered me, and it was like rectifying all the problems. Everything's okay. There's nothing, you haven't done anything wrong. And it really makes me feel better. And it's like a kind of an instant upper, at least in their environment, so they can continue working with me in the state that they need me in. And that was it. She basically turns around and we walk out. And when we do, I'm still in this kerfuffled state, kind of emotionally, but I'm in an environment with lots of other crafts. And so it's like a hangar bay. And I'm like, whoa. And I still haven't been able, like, I'm still not like, whoa, but I'm just like kind of following her, like, whoa, crazy. And then we move, and there's other entities here too. So this is the first time ever I've now moved into a place where there's a lot of other entities, and I've never experienced this ever. This was like holy crap, like okay. And all of a sudden, the me that knows them, that is kind of on the raised state from the afterlife vision and everything, I'm kind of gaining that back. I'm like, right, I love being in these environments. And I'm kind of just letting go of all the craziness, the confusion, and the emotional, Jeff Selver human confusion. Let's leave that behind, and let's just be here, because this is absolutely amazing. And we get out and I follow her, and I get into a transporter. We move into another level. So there's levels to this base, this building. And as we move past, we walk past a window on this kind of second floor we've moved up to. And when I see the window, I see Earth, and I'm like, then it all like hits me. I'm like, oh my God. So as a 20-year-old, this is what you want. You want to be somewhere cool. You want to see their cool Star Trek type stuff. You want to see this. And this was super exciting. And I was like, oh my God, like that's amazing. This is stunning. And as we're in this environment, I see another humanoid walk by. So I've never seen another type of alien like that before. So that was new to me. And then we get into another room. So basically she kind of walks into a room. The room was red. It was very weird. The room had like it was like portions of the room were red. And I mean to say it's like a dark room, the way we would have a red light kind of creating an atmosphere. And so it was a red room, two rows of computers, two rows of computers on my left, three bodies in tubes on my right, two 4 foot tall gray aliens, and one I would now basically call it a hybrid. And the tubes were kind of like leaning back, and they were on my right. There was a stage, and then there was a doorway to another space over there to my left. So I walked in, and the elder says, "Take your clothes off." So it's really fascinating because I'm in some type of astral form, but I still have clothes and I can take them off. And then she wants me to go up on the stage. Oh, and the other thing here too is what's really fascinating. I had to like micro analyze this over the years that my memories have been out. Like I'm not affected by being naked in front of this entity. And I was like, why? Because as a 20-year-old, I was pretty self-conscious about all these things. And I could feel A, that I was bonded to them, but B, I am in this type of like astral state. So there's a weird subconscious or intuitive knowing that I'm just altered and I'm theirs. So I'm like, it's almost like I take on the identity of being an experiment for them and knowing it. And I'm now in an altered form. And that's kind of what it is. I know I'm in an altered form, and I know I am one of theirs. So I feel like a specimen to some degree. And on this kind of other consciousness level, it's like a consciousness level that I feel like a specimen, like a biological specimen while being a consciousness related. And I feel it. I'm okay with it because the other me has these crazy experiences, but I'm aware of it. And I get onto the stage, and a glass thing, like encasing, like a glass, uh, you know, uh, encasement happens. Basically, it kind of surrounds me, and a beam of light, like a thick beam of light, goes down. And when I ask what's happening here, she says, This was a great event, and we are recording it for our records. Also fascinating, if I must be in an astral state, that they can just do this anyway. They can take my body, they can take all the DNA, and they can take everything from their, from their computers. It's just very fascinating when you really analyze all these details. And afterwards, I can come down when it's done, and I can come down, and she pulls out it looks like a tablet, the size of a tablet, like a modern iPad, and yet it's clear. And she shows it to me, and it's me on the tablet. So they took a recording of me. It's my naked body, but it's like a hologram, and you can move it. And when you move it, you can see the innards, my organs, my intestines. And I'm like, whoa. And they never show me stuff like that too. So that at that time they hadn't. So I was really like honored, like, whoa, thank you. And I could read, there was their script on the side. Their script was on the top. I could read a bunch of stuff, and the reading is happening from an object that they had put in my brain. At the time, I didn't have any of that knowledge. All I knew was I could read it. And uh and when I say read it, I just mean read through, like, it's read through feeling, not read through having learned a written language. Like, I could look at the script, and then I knew what was being said, and it's a very weird way it translates for me. And so, yeah, I have a quick glance at that. And then she says, go over there into the other room. So there's another side room. And I know what's going to happen. And I get into the room, the door shuts. So I'm naked now. And then the door opens, and the elder has transferred her body into another hybrid body, into the hybrid that was there, the body that was there. So she's transferred her essence into that entity. And so the answer to what happens here is, they had in the this was my eighth contact event where I started traveling. The previous contact event, the one right before I left for traveling, the seventh, she had programmed me. She had done a thing with her eye that put in the message that they needed my genetics. And uh, when I get these memories out and the way I record them and write them in my book, these are the memories, these are all the details. But now what I'm aware of is I'm actually having different phasing states, even in the contact events, where maybe something had happened, and at the moment I'm not aware of what just occurred. So she did this thing with her eye, and I'm not clear what that was. But for me, all these 20 years later, and I have been meditating for 20 years, and I got this experience, these different experiences that help me analyze these memories. I just have the memory. And what she did in the seventh contact event was kind of like put in a message that they needed my semen, and it happened in a kind of subconscious way. So in this room in the eighth contact event, she basically says, she comes in as the hybrid, and she says, sit down. And she's immediately getting into my head, and all the biological stuff gets turned on. And I now understand what's happening is she has implanted that command, and I begin phasing out. So, all these years later, I thought I just have the memories, but I don't. I'm in the moment, I'm like, oh, and I'm going back onto a bed. Sorry, there was a bed, in the small bed in the room. It was like a single room with a single bed. And I get placed on the bed, and she gets on top, and then that's it. It's just a really quick biological exchange. And I record that. It was reminiscent of the spinning in the white room. For those who know that, that's my first contact event. But what I now know is what's happening is I'm phasing out. So I'm just blanking out basically, and she's going in and she's pushing buttons and she's getting the biology that she needs. And I kind of like phase back in, and she's off. So she's made me unconscious basically, but all these years later, I just have the memory of what it is. But I know what happened. So it's basically, she made the unpleasantness okay. You weren't really aware. So I now know this is how they are thinking, that they're like, hey, we tried to make it okay for you, that we need this from you. And so the hybrid walks out with my semen, and I have a clear memory of sitting on the side of the bed, holding the bed, and being like, what, like what, like still a bit phased that like, or not phased, but wrapping your head around it that had happened to you. And that's it. I get out. But because of the state I'm in, because I'm one of theirs, because I'm in this altered state that isn't really affecting the other guy down, the person who's sleeping right now, you're kind of like, okay, 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 I get it. This is good. We're done now. And then you kind of move out, and there is a degree, a part of you that is like, okay, cool. They needed some of that from me. What are they going to do with it? Wow, there's a part of me in their world now permanently. So, there's a part of me at that time that had that. And it doesn't mean I didn't have other human disturbia, but nonetheless, you do have a part of you that accepts it in the moment. At least I did. And I was uncomfortable with it. And so as I came in back into that room, the elder is back into her body. I'm told to put my clothes back on, and we get out. And we're back in the hallway, and I see the window where I saw Earth, and kind of like out of my own, now that they had done this, they made it biological, they made it personable, they made it that personable. I like just take control myself. So I walk away from the elder, and I want to see my own. I want to see things now that I want to see. There's almost a weird feeling behind it where I'm like kind of rebelling again. The weird human emotional element to it, where you're like, oh, okay, well then I'm going to go do this. And they did that. They took that from me. I'm going to go do this. And so I will. Maybe it's a part of me trying to gain my own power in a scenario that felt like I lost power. And so I walk up to the window, and I see Earth, and it's Earth in the crescent. The right side is lit up, the dark side is shaded, but we're kind of in the dark a little bit. And in this state too, I can feel the universe. When you're in like an astral state like this, and you're in their crafts like this, and then you see space, you feel like you're a part of space. It's really interesting. You feel like you're a part of God. You feel, yeah, it's just wild, man. And I had a real like kind of moment. And the elder is walking up behind me, and I feel her like telepathically projecting gratefulness. We're grateful, grateful, grateful. And then she walks up beside me, and she said, "We're grateful for the work you've done with us. What would you like from us?" And I'm like, I want to see where you live. I want to know how you live. I want to get like, who doesn't want to know these details? And she says, "We live on Venus." Chooses the human word 100% with ease and transparency. We live on Venus. And I'm like, okay, that makes no sense to me. But then she starts walking, and I feel the absolute excitement and joy that I'm about to learn something that, in that moment, you feel like no other human knows this. You feel so removed and isolated from the human experience at this point. And now I'm going deeper down the rabbit hole. And that is just, it's exciting. You're like, woo, I could have screamed. I would have been like, yeah, cheering or something. But it was all contained in this energy state where I just felt really, really, really joyful about it. And we get into the transporter. We come back down to another main level that I was on when I first showed up. And I can feel the elder as she's walking in front of me, I can feel her telepathically reaching out to someone. So she's like telephone, like communicating, but telepathically. And then we get in front of the bay doors, and a humanoid is walking up, and he looks similar to in age to me, and he's super exposed, super like his energy would be exposed, super friendly, super welcoming, warm. And he's like smiling. He has the human impressions to smile. And the elder's like, "Do you want to show him where we live?" And he's like, "Yes." And he gets it's even the human weirdness behind like, "Oh, sure, man." Like any of those, it's like out. It's all heart exposure. Like, "Yes, I want to show him." Just pureness. And that's it. I leave the elder. We leave the elder, and he's walking me back into that hangar bay with all the crafts. I'm more emotionally collected this time, and I can look around, and I'm like, oh, Like, holy crap. And there's objects here that I can't make sense of. I see weird, like weird X's, an X. I don't know what it means. Like a weird, like a almost like a TIE fighter from a Star Wars. But it's black, and I see tubes with nose cones, and there are classic disc shapes, and the size must be like the size of a football field. Like it's huge. Like it's a major, major large space. And it's clear there's other objects that go further deep in. I see humanoids or entities walking around. And My real feeling here is that this is all the mantis. It's all like mantis tech. And the mantis is involved here. Though at the time I don't haven't interacted with that entity yet. There's just something really central about all this. It's really weird. Anyway, we get into the to a craft. So there is it's a disc, and we get into the craft, and I follow him, and I sit down, and he says, "No, you're going to drive," and I'm stunned by that. So they're just treating me. Is this staged? Maybe it's staged. Maybe they knew exactly how this was all going to play out, and they were trying to give me what they wanted. They're solving an ego problem too, by the way. All the kid who's lived left in mystery, the kid who had this agreement, all those things that he needed or wanted in his subconscious to keep working with these entities is being solved, or is being they're hitting at those moments. So they're kind of like giving me, giving me, giving me, and it feels amazing. And I'm in a white room type state inside my heart. I feel so joyful, like a child. Like this is like childlike innocence. You're like, what? This is amazing. And I actually also think, because I'm in that state, that this all kind of like re-brought up the higher self, the afterlife vision, the orb is in my heart kind of feeling. It's why I'm able to do this. Like I'm in a state that allows me to be in these other dimensions with them. And at least that's how I translate it now. So he puts his hands onto a pad and gets us out of this environment first. And like the last time, when he gets up, the craft just zips through a wall without a hangar bay door opening, and then we're floating or we're out in space. And he sets me up on the craft and tells me to put my hands. There's a pad, and I put my hands on it, and I can feel my awareness has jumped out to basically to the rim. It's almost like there's a sense of my own awareness has encroached out to the rim of the object. So I now encompass the object. And it's kind of like that, like a portion of me. And there might be some type of, I don't know, energy is taking from me. I don't know that. Not taking is the wrong word, but it's drawing from, like consciousness wise. And anyway, I feel like I'm a part of the awareness of the craft now. And then he basically says, on the screen, there's a screen in front of us, look to where you want to go, and then think to go there. And I sometimes reflect that I believe the screens are actually receptive to what you're looking at. So they know, because even presently with the way UAP operate, they're very aware of where you're looking. So the kind of the double slit experiment, the way observation and quantum reality, the way observation actually has an effect on things like that. Like the UAP respond to how you're to what you're looking at. They can see what they know, your observation and where you're looking, and it's like that. Like the screen is aware of where you're looking, and so then you look at a certain environment spot, and then you think to go there. Now, I ask where Venus is, and I don't really understand the layout, and the craft is already kind of like angled towards it. Now, for anybody who's a skeptic of all this, let's just say there's someone out there right now saying, "Oh, come on." And I'm a skeptic of my own content. That's the thing, right? I don't just go around believing dreams and believing little, hints of stuff. I work my butt off trying to understand what had happened to me. And there are some researchers out there now, abduction and contact researchers, who say, "Oh, well, the aliens can put things into your mind, right? We know about screen memories, so we don't know what's real anymore." And they really are writing off a lot, because they just can't make sense of how the entities can get in people's heads and what that all means. And so, is there a reality here where maybe I'm just dreaming all of this? Yeah, maybe I'm having a contact event, but the aliens are just putting all this stuff in my head and it's not real. And the problem is with that angle for me in this moment, in this contact event, is that the physics all adds up. So when I'm going up to the spaceship and then I end up being on the dark side of the Earth, well, that's where I would be if the Earth was rotating and I was on Hornby Island and the craft had kind of risen upwards the way it did. It's kind of it all matches. My brain can't generate an imagination that matches how the universe would be responding in that moment. It's like it's too much detail. And then when I get out to the window and I see the Earth down below, and the that doesn't make sense because that's just the way it would be if a station was sitting there. And then when I get out in a craft and I come out, and then Venus is very close. This is exactly, I would have come out to the right of the Earth, basically, you'd see, but the Earth would be here, the station would be here, and then I'd be coming out here, and then the sun would be there. All that blaze out. And here's the part that I was public about this in the first time I ever went public on this contact event. I knew where Venus was in 1998. So the memory is pretty clear about the exact spot of where Venus was in the solar system. And I recorded me discovering where exactly Venus was, and through you can find this information on the online, right, through databases. And Venus was so the sun here, Venus here, Earth here, and bang on, I got it like to the T because my memory is correct because I go there in some type of astral state or some type of bilocated state, but I go there. I go to Venus, and it's the real freaking deal. And so yeah, basically I'm on the craft, and so I see this kind of dot that is Venus. The sun is being obscured by some type of like filter, some type of orange filter, and I look in the middle of the space, and then I kind of like think to go there, and it goes poof, and the craft shoots there instantaneously. Now, also think something I just didn't know, right? Because apparently, when you study the gravity or the physics of what craft might do in outer space, I've seen several physicists mention this that the craft would actually be instantaneous. It wouldn't be like Star Wars style where you're flying around like this. It would be a shot, like you would instantaneously move from one to the other instantaneously, and that's what happens here. I don't what I if I was dreaming this, I would dream the flying, right? You want to fly, like that feeling like you're free like a bird. And that's not what happens here. The craft fires, and it fires to the spot. And but I can feel it as it moves, and and it's exulting. It's like and then I just keep doing it for a couple of them. I look again, I turn the craft, I look and I fire it there, turn the craft and I look and I fire it there, and I'm convinced I do about 4 times. And then we're very close to Venus at that point. And Venus is a ball of ice. It's like a snowball, basically, is what it is. And that is correct too when you look at uh, most of the pictures we have of Venus has a filter on, and the filter is amplifying, or uh, it's exposing the kind of the more brown of the atmosphere. And if you were to look at it with no filter, it's actually much more white. And that's what I see. In this on the craft, it's white. Yeah, there's some brown, but there's a lot of white, and it's kind of like a snowball. And it's about the size of a basketball on the craft. And I don't want to drive anymore because I'm scared to do something wrong. And the humanoid takes over, and he flies us in. He actually flies, and we go into the atmosphere through the clouds. And I'm like, holy crap. and and I'm in this like joyful state about it all. It's absolutely amazing. And we're flying kind of perpendicular, or yeah, like over the ground through rocks, and I'm like figuring it all out, right? Like they're on Venus. Like I was educated at that time that Venus was barren. It was too hot. I don't think I knew it had 7 times the ocean pressure. I think that's what it is. But it's definitely uninhabitable, and I was aware of that. And of course, when we're flying, it's all coming together. Like, right, it's just rocks and it's barren here. What's going on? And then I see a city kind of up as we're moving up. We're flying up, and as I get closer, the city is obscured by mist and orange or sorry, yellow clouds basically. And the craft lands on some type of landing dock or landing dock area. And the door opens up and he gets out, and I'm like, whoa, can we breathe this? And then he gets out and he says the air is normal. He doesn't explain anything to me. And then I walk out, and yeah, I'm able to be out in the environment. So I'm out in the environment on Venus. I'm more convinced than ever that this is a dimensionally phased city, and I'm in an astral state, bilocated state, so I'm able to be there. And it feels like I'm in my physical body, though it's in some type of astral state. Again, I want to refrain from saying an astral state. It's a bilocated state. So I actually walk around. I move my body. I feel like I'm there, and I actually have clothes on and everything. And I believe the guy at that moment believes he's there. And there's no sense of floating like I'm an out of body or a sense of astral, like it's just dream states. This is bilocation. And so when I get out, one of the grand memories is looking up at the atmosphere and being, wow, it's just wild to be in this environment. And we walk down this kind of pathway as we're moving into walking to a city. Like the city, these are they were landing pads that had walkways to them. So you walked and then so landed and then you walked out. And we were walking into a curved doorway, like a large open doorway that also had no atmosphere or anything to separate the inside of where I'm going into the city from the outside. So it was it's obviously a dimensional. Now I say that it's obviously a dimensionally phased city, and entities who are intelligent, who have bodies, who are bilocating, who can be in phase states but still be physical states, are all here. And yeah, and we walk in, and I'm just in this elevated state. Oh my God. And there are three tall grays I see sitting in robes. So they're leisure. Everything is like very relaxed and very leisure. And he says, "Do you want to see where I live?" I'm like, "Yes." There is like a walkway, like a light walkway, I call it. And it has rings on the side. I don't know. I don't understand it fully. It's like the airport walk, the not the escalators at airports, but they have the flat ones at airports. It's like that. And yet instead of the handlebars, rings are on the side, and when you step on it, it seems to fly you. It seems to take your body and still, it's like it pushes you or flies you through. And you're not flying on your stomach as if you're flying like that, but you're flying standing up. And then it seems to know where you're going. So again, there's this grand idea that there's like a quantum AI here, a God AI that's running the whole entire city. And there was nothing programmed. No one said anything. This thing knew where we were going. And we're flying along it, and it drops us off. So we walk out. Basically, the sensation is walking on, you're flying really fast, and then you're walking out, and you're basically taking the next step, and you're stepping on to another area. And we get in front of an elevator. And that's really weird to me all these years later, but not if you are an entity that needs to move. So maybe they have their quantum AI setup requires you to have some physical movement. So it creates an elevator instead of a light transporter or something. And yeah, I'm in a space for an elevator, and we're waiting for an elevator. And doors open up, we get inside, doors closed, comes up, doors open up, and yeah, this is like a condo space, basically. It's the best way to frame it. It's a condo space. And he gets out, and then a woman comes around the corner, and it's his mother. And I can feel telepathically, I can feel the bond between them, that this is his mother. And there is like the telepathic, like, welcome, very, very friendly. And I'm in the state of like joyful, like, oh my God, this is amazing. And the best way I can describe the room is it's molded. It totally comes off as a molded environment, with not hard corners like a normal room would have, not like you see here. It would have been like shaped, like curved. And but there was a lot of similar stuff, tables, and I'll be in another space in a second. I'll see couches. So they live, you know, and maybe it's the DNA. Maybe we all have similar DNA or something, and we all kind of think similarly. I don't know. They don't live too unsimilar to humans, and which is always shocking. You want it to be Star Trek. You want it to be absolutely bonkers, like they sleep upside down or something. But no, like bats. But no, they live kind of like humans do. And there was this space off to the left, some type of like kitchen like area that had like cupboards to it. And on one of the tables is a round circular object. And I don't know what I'm looking at. And he wants to show it to me. Come look at this. And in the middle is a metal, like a material, some type of like bullet was in the middle, like a material. And then there's this like electric lines, basically, like forks of electric activity coming from the bullet to the rim of this circular object. He takes a material on the desk, lets it go, and it flies to the bullet, and the bullet shocks. I don't know what's going on. And I guess he senses my perplexity, or maybe I am too overwhelmed. I don't know. And he says, "Don't worry, don't worry. Your civilization will get here soon." So he's showing me something, and then there's no explanation about what it is. And so I don't know if this is energy. I don't know what it is. But I'm also just like maybe too overwhelmed. And so we're done, kind of like looking around. It's like, okay, that was amazing. Oh my God. And I say bye to, I remember this. I say physically bye to his mom, like bye. I actually voice bye. And she's left perplexed about my English. So she doesn't know what I'm saying. But yeah, and that's it. We get into the space, the elevator to go back down. And when we're there, I guess this is reminiscent of possibly what was going on in my psyche was, you know, here I am traveling, living out of a backpack, living out of a car, living out of a sleeping bag, feeling like to some degree I was living something that I didn't know how I got there. I didn't understand why I had a response to a book that told me to leave to go traveling, and now I was traveling, and so now I'm in this city environment where I'm seeing homes and seeing comfort and seeing family and friendships, and I'm like, I have a pang. I have like a pang for it in my heart. And so in the elevator, he seems to maybe respond to that, where he's like, "Don't worry, like what you're doing for your human." So also, what was really neat here, he basically says something along the lines of like what you're doing for humanity is great. Like the work you're doing is fantastic. Keep up the great work that you're doing. And and basically he says something along the lines of like, you'll come back here again soon. And I think he's just trying to give well wishes, but he's trying to make me feel better. And then I get off the elevator. He goes, so the light walkway is there again, and he gets on it and he says, "You go that way, and just keep going until you find, like, basically you just go that way, and I'll be heading off this way." And I'm like, "Where are you going?" He said, "Just get on and you go that way." And I'm like stunned. He gets on and he leaves. So now I'm alone. I'm alone on an alien world, on an alien city. Like all the absurdities that are going on with this in this moment are just, they're comical in their own way. And I am laughing. I'm like, oh my God, like this is crazy. So I get on the light walkway, and it fires me off, and it moves me quite far into the city, and I can see other towers. I can see through the ceilings. There's like glass ceilings, and I can see other towers. And then moving, and then instantaneously I'm shot up, and I'm materializing inside of a walkway or a transporter in someone's space. Everything in this space is tiny. It's clear to me I'm in the elder's space. I can feel it. And the elder comes around the corner. Jeff, welcome. So she's full on like human style, like welcome, like making it easy and comfortable for me. Welcome, Jeff. Come on in. Basically like welcome is definitely what she says. And she's wearing a jumpsuit, and the jumpsuit is black with holograms inside, or like the surface has holograms, so her chest would have like depth. You could almost like the holograms make it look like she has depth going inside of her. And this is like her relaxed. She's emanating a feeling. This is her relaxed clothing. This is what this is the clothing she likes to wear. Very funny. I'm just flabbergasted. I'm just blown away and flabbergasted. And I sit down. She brings me a cup, and she shows me what she's drinking. So I take my cup, and I don't know how the dialogue happens. I can't remember. It's probably written in the book properly. But at some point, I can't remember if she says it, but she shows me her drink. And inside it looks like tomato paste. It looks like tomato, like tomato soup would. And I just find that fascinating that she showed that to me, and because it matches a whistleblower who said that they need copper in their system, and if you had copper liquid, you would have something that looked like tomato paste. So it's very interesting. And so I sit and relax with this cup, and she's sitting and relaxing on a couch. We're on couches. We're on couches set for her size, but we're on couches. And she wants me to feel this way. She wants me to feel relaxed, and it's really sweet actually. And I just sit there and I say, we did it. We made another me. Now that was the whole story here. Um, the Graylians helped me discover my soul, and they were doing it by creating another persona, another, a dimension. I now frame it as a dimensional body because it had the higher self in it and yada yada. But it's another me basically. And I say that we did it. We made another me. And she said, you did most of the work. I just helped you move you along. And I'm like, so what now? And she's like, you'll live out your life like you're supposed to. And I didn't really understand it. I didn't understand what was going on. And I'm reflecting a little bit, like maybe I knew subconsciously that here I was on Venus, and then my body was actually still sleeping, or thinking it's sleeping on a beach in Hornby Island. And then I decide I need to absorb where I am, because I wasn't really absorbing it. I'm just kind of out of excitement. So I can't recall what I do with the glass. I must put it down, but I look around and I want to look at things, and her place is sparse. It would be equivalent to an empty home with two couches and a chair, and with nothing on it, like no pictures, no lamps, no decorations, right? All this stuff doesn't none of that was there. And but she had this kind of lounge looking chair that had a band across for the observer sitting in it. And I said, what's this? And she said, that's my entertainment. She said, go ahead, sit in it. It won't make sense to you. So, okay, I sit in it and I squeeze in, and it's actually it's like not made for my size, not made for my hips. And I squeeze in, and the band comes across my head, and these immediately it starts interacting with me, and these three-dimensional shapes come out, they bust out, and it's like they go into my sphere, my space, my head goes into my brain almost. That's what it feels like. And I immediately want to hurl. It makes me nauseous instantaneously. And I'm like, I don't, what the hell is that? That's your entertainment? And I'm kind of getting out. And she's like, yeah, it's not made for you. We're different. We are affected by different things than you are. And I was like, okay, that makes sense. And none of that is explained. All these years later, I have a presentation where I talk about, it does appear that their technology is 3D tech, and that their brains, all the consciousness holograms are actually technically are three-dimensional. That's what they are. It's a the consciousness element of the hologram is an extra dimension. And so you have that going on here where she's clearly receptive to this other dimension in her holograms that entertains her in a way that humans don't understand yet. And that's it. There's kind of a sense of like, okay, time to go. And so I think it's the end. I still can't wrap my head around why they're with me. I don't get what's going on. It's all being left into mystery. It's not being told. I'm not being told what's happening. So I feel like it's the end. And I'm like, thank you for this. And she's like, I get in back into the transporter, and she's like, we'll see you again soon. And then I'm fired down, and I'm like, what does that mean? Like, what? Why is this idea that you're still in my life? I can't. I thought the whole thing was to help me with my, help me with this transition, help my spirit, or help me discover my soul, and that was it. Why are you still in my life at this point? I don't understand it. So I'm being sent back down. I'm back on the light walkway all through this, transporting method, and then I pop out in a it feels like a mall. It feels like a so it's the same city, it's the same space. I'm just now popped out in a certain location that gives me the impression of a mall, but it's not a mall. I don't believe there's commerce. I believe, but there's a lot of entities, and there's a lot of people walking and conversing, and groups hanging out together and talking and standing, and people are sitting. And I see groups of people sitting. I see one person sitting looking at a giant hologram on a table, and my humanoid friend who I came in with is talking with other humanoids, and so it's obvious the city knows where I should be going. I should be meeting up with him, and he sees me, and comes. He ends his conversation with his friends, and he comes back to meet with me, and so we both get on the light walkway, and so I'm just blown away by everything that's occurring. And as we get off the light walkway to go back to the craft, I'm like, "What's your name?" And he says, "We don't have names, not the way you have names." And I'll never be explained that. I again, all these years later, I feel like I have some understanding about that now, but at the time I didn't. And we get back out, and there's this strange sense that I'm back out into this environment again. I'm on the Venus environment with no need for an oxygen mask or anything. Yet I still feel like I'm walking. I'm walking there. I'm not floating or anything. And so I'm a body, but I'm a bilocated body in some type of astral state. And we move, get back into the craft. He flies us all the way back, and it's a lot more smoother. And he basically, we fly by the base station that I see, the base, yeah, the base station, and then we go back into Hornby Island. Basically, what happens here is I'm convinced that he actually lets me off the craft, but either way, I phase out, and then I wake up having no knowledge and only saying they were here. And the dream is disturbing because of the biological stuff that happened with the elder. And it's kind of the idea that it's moved into this state, or that this is where it went. Combining it with spirituality was really disturbing. It was weird for it's hard for the 20-year-old mind to really wrap their head around that. And so it was disturbing, and the dream ended up being disturbing. And even though it was capped off with this kind of really amazing time, there was something going on in the subconscious there. And I woke up, saw the woman, who ended up being a really powerful impression for the rest of my time traveling. I'll always remember there was several moments where I'll have contact events. First, remembering this woman I see on the rock looking at the moon, and I'll remember her, and then I'll have the contact of it. And then the contact, it almost like she's a screen memory, or she's something that just matches the frequency or the vibration of the contact events. So it's really haunting. It's really bizarre. This woman who ends up being right beside the tent after the contact event, and that's it. I go back to bed. In the morning, I feel like something was on the field. The craft, that orb I'd seen, had been on the field, and that's the only imprints ever left for that until all the memories crack open 20 years later.
Did you ever figure out who that lady outside was?
No, the elder told me it's a screen memory though. Years, like when my memories come out, that she wasn't actually there.
I see.
So yeah,
That's an
I don't know if
amazing
that's
contact. Yeah.
yeah, it's one of the wackiest, absurd, amazing, enlightening, yeah, powerful, yeah, everything. Yeah, and it was, and when people can't understand that that could happen, it's because they don't understand what happened to me. Right? They did this consciousness event. I still haven't found anybody who has a contact event quite like mine. And yeah, the entities are reward. They're reward focused now. I go around speaking about them in a book, and I go to a conference, and then they reward me with a sighting. So they are very much trade focused. You know, you do this, we do this, right? And so that's what happened here. I was part of an experiment. Then they reward me by sending me to Venus, having me fly a craft, and it's on purpose to to affect the psyche. So there's things answered for me that I'll stop asking questions about, right, in my own subconscious. And that's what happens in traveling. All of a sudden I have a resolution about what happened to me, and I just keep traveling without letting certain parts, cause me pain anymore. So they know what they're doing always with the human psyche, and that played it out here too.
What did they do with your DNA at that time?
So I'll see those babies. That will become babies I will see in my 24th contact event. That will be in 2008. Fascinatingly enough, 10 years later. Yeah, so 10 years after that contact event, I'll see the babies made with that semen, yeah, that biology.
So let's talk about chapter 29, contact event number 23, meeting the
Yeah.
leader of the program.
Yeah. So okay, that was the big contact event that happened after the Venus contact event was the big one that happened after my agreement was fulfilled with them. And now I'm traveling for 2.5 years, and they were a part of my traveling, kind of, the guardian angel, making sure I didn't do something stupid, I guess. But also there was a lot of information told to me, and there's biology for the first year. So it was really wild, hard at times too. But nonetheless, uh, traveling had ended. I met my wife, which they helped facilitate. They helped line that up. And me, so I'm not, she wasn't my wife at the time. To be my to be wife, my girlfriend. And I followed her back to Toronto. So that's how traveling ends. And I met her guru. Her guru is a Sadguru, not the Sadguru, not the guy from YouTube channels or from YouTube or Sadguru from YouTube. A Sadguru is a term of a type of guru, and that's what my guru is. He's a Sadguru, and it's considered the highest level. That's why it means something. And he can do, you know, some powerful stuff, and I've seen it. And he was great learning. It's a great connection from having all the stuff what the entities did with me to meeting him and helping make bridges and helping make links to things. I think was the whole entire purpose of this whole story. But so I'd been in Toronto for 6 to 7 months at that point. And sorry, I'm just going to grab a swig of water here. I had arrived in October of the year 2000. I think I was probably 23 or 24. I can't recall. And now it's spring of the 2001. And I'm living in a bachelor pad in the same building as my girlfriend at the time. And I went for a morning walk. Like it must be a weekend. Very normal or not abnormal, let's say, on a Saturday or Sunday to go for an early morning walk. And with like no plans. I have like no plans to meet anybody or hang out with anybody. I'm still making friends after traveling for 2.5 years and living out of a backpack and all that stuff. And while walking, I'm taken. I'm taken in broad daylight, and I can only assume the entities didn't, aligned it so no one was watching. I don't really know. I don't know how they do this stuff, but I'm taken, and I'm immediately inside an object. I'm inside a craft, and I become the me that knows them, and it's shocking. Never mind, it's shocking to just have the contact event. It's shocking because the last time I interacted with them, I was the traveling kid. So this is actually really good to put these two things together. How shocking and how the entities are really work with psyches, and how they really psyches can, like human psyche can help bury the contact events when the human psyche is going through a lot of different things over the period of the contact events. Then you become a different person almost every time you're having the contact event, and that helps them keep it all buried. So um so the example being, that's why I was traumatized at the beginning of the eighth contact event. I'm crying so much because I'm sitting there unraveling something. Well, that's happening again here. So I'm in the craft and I'm putting together something that was absolutely shocking. I wanted to know, while traveling, I was fighting with them to know that I was having the contact events. Like, why can't I know? Why can't I know that I'm having these contact events? Like, I should know, because it would help the other guy who's living out his normal life, answering the mysteries of his existence and what had happened to him. And but it would also help him, just help with everything. And all of a sudden, when I'm in this 23rd contact event and I'm in the craft, it hits me that they couldn't tell me because I had now lined up with a girlfriend with this guru, and I'm now living a life in Toronto. None of that could have happened or could have rolled out the way it did had I had a knowledge about the contact events. It would have altered the trajectory. It would have altered the timeline. It would have altered things, and they need to keep that timeline consistent or in a certain fashion. Not that I was quite framing it like, but in terms of timelines at that moment, but I understood what it meant for me that I'd been in Toronto and what kind of resolution it was to leave traveling, and now there was this new life, and all of a sudden to have the answers to why I traveled and also why I'm back in society makes a picture that was really shocking. They did it all, and they can't tell you everything. And sometimes you're in a state with them where you can't know all the answers to everything. And you think you want to because you're a human and you deserve the right. And there might be some righteousness behind that. But in the end, these guys are dealing with things that are scales up. This moment of this awareness is what embeds in my heart in the present. It's one of the many things, but it's definitely one of them that makes me trust them without a shadow of a doubt. So I trust the entities. And I know a lot of people don't have a lot of trust with them. A lot of people know they're benevolent, still don't fully trust them. A lot of people know they're benevolent and they're evolving humans, but still don't trust them. You got a whole kind of slew of humans that are having trust issues, and it's understandable and reasonable because of the phenomenon and the way it behaves. But I trust them. I trust them. I trust that they're dealing with things that are scales up from humans, and that's how big they are. That if we had the knowledge, we would derail ourselves. So we can't have some of that knowledge because we need to keep things consistent on our own path, so we evolve the way that we need to. And if we didn't, we would derail ourselves. And so an event like that's what's happening here. And for the first time in the 23rd contact event, I'm touching that wisdom or that realization, and it's hitting me, and I'm feeling guilty. Actually, I'm feeling guilty because I fought with the elder in the 22nd contact event before traveling ended, and there was like kind of like a thing about it, and I was like, oh my god, she was right. Like, oh my god, like I couldn't have known. And yeah, it's just really challenging stuff. And so yeah, okay, basically I'm on the craft, and I sit down, and look, I kind of know to just sit. It's these two at this point too, the 23rd contact event, 23rd. I've had so many traveling, I've gotten used to them. I've kind of have an ego, not an ego in the sense I feel, super egotistical, but I'm like, okay, yeah, I want another contact event. Okay, what's happening here? You're kind of like that about it. I know there's so many people who are like desperate to have contact, and when you're like, oh yeah, what's happening here? And that's the state I was in, where you're like, okay, I have to, and I know to just listen to them and just follow them. So there's a feeling to just sit and just watch. And I don't know who these two, they're two small gray aliens, and they're piloting the craft, and I don't know what to do. So I just kind of sit there and wait. And I'm watching them, and they're watching a screen, and the screen it's obviously the object we're in is moving really fast, and I can see it feels, or it's looking like we're really close to the ground, but the screen is like black. It's a black screen with grids on it. So I don't really understand exactly what's going on. But the impression is we're moving and we're moving really fast. And then a human material, it's like the craft stops and then a human materializes. And it's a woman, it's a girl, a woman, young woman. And sorry. And she's startled. And she's like, she sees me first and she says, "Oh, where are you from?" And I said, and she's saying it in telepathy, and I can't really understand her language. She actually is speaking a different language in her telepathy, but I can feel her impressions, her feelings. So I know she's inquisitive. And I say Toronto, Canada. And I say, she's like, "Oh, I'm from," and I hear something like Aklak, Serbia. And I'm like, so first off, okay, whoa, what? We're in Serbia already? Like, what? And also, okay, crazy. And that's it. Okay, whoa. And then she's kind of gaining her awareness. She takes a seat, and then the object is moving again, or the craft is moving. And then we stop again, and I know what's about to happen. Another human's going to materialize. And so I'm looking, okay, where's this going to happen? And a human materializes in front of my vision, and it's a black fellow, and he now here's the twist. I've seen these people before in the 18th contact event, so I'm starting to recognize the faces. I've seen them once before, but it was only 2 years prior to this, and he materializes, but I never talked with him, so that's the difference. And he's stunned and then recognizes right away, almost like a kind of a chuckle to himself, that he knows he's being taken. And he clearly has pleasant experiences with them because he's like, "Oh, right, this is what's going on." Okay. And he's looking at us. And the inquiry is, where are we from? And no inquiry about who our names are. And intuitively, by the way, I know this is happening behind my life without my awareness. And I guess that's the case for all of them too, because no one is saying, "I need to get your number." I need to get you. And yeah, we were dealing with email addresses at the time. Get me your email address. How do I find you? It's like we're all subjects who have all this happening behind our lives, and without our lives knowing. So there was a deep interest in knowing where we were picking people up from. And so, where are you from? Where are you from? I can hear Congo. So Congo. And I don't really pick up like Patesh or Peteresh or something. I can't figure out what he's saying, but there's the Congo is in there. And okay, I'm from Serbia. I'm from Toronto, Canada. Okay, whoa, whoa. And then we keep picking people up. So we pick up six of us altogether. A girl from Iceland, a guy from Russia, another person from Eastern Europe, which I can only assume at the time is Yugoslavia, but I don't really know that. Slovakia and the Congo and Canadian. I'm going to say something really weird here that I haven't said anywhere else. Um, there's a strange, there's a feeling in my contact events that the entities hint at about having made agreements with governments, right? There's idea that they're communicating with governments. And of course, we all know what government that is. It clearly would be the American government. And just really weird how the 10th contact event where I saw the city would be placed was on dead center of North America, like the center of America. And then all these humans picked up, no one's American. And it's just very worldly. And I really like that, but it's just very interesting how it's like on purpose that this would be a public story and there'd be no Americans in it. And it's like something being said by the entities. Like, I just feel like, there was an agreement made, and then the Americans, over the decades, government wise, reneged on that. And then there's like animosity. And so that's what it feels like. I don't know. I don't have the answers to those things. It's just a really weird impression that why there's no Americans in my contact events. Yet it's very worldly and has all these other people from all these other countries, which, I've tried to do my research and tried to find people in Serbia and Congo and Russia. Are there Russian, contactees? Are there Serbian contactees? That kind of thing. And a lot of these other countries, I think they shame this topic still. So we don't know. But yeah, just very interesting how that all rolled out. So um the craft is floating up with all the occupants. It's going up to the base. So it's very fitting. We did the eighth contact event where I went into the base in space. This is the second, actually, I believe it's the third, but the second very clear time I'm going up to that craft, that base in space again. So we're floating back up to it. So it's the second time I'm there. And this time it's cloaked, but I can still make out the shape. It's very bizarre how the shape is still kind of there, bleeding through. And again, we just seem to go through the wall. Craft lands. We get out and we file out, and the short gray alien basically leads us out. And I'm closer to the back, and I'm able to, when we walk out, I'm able to look back at the craft, and it's a tube. And I kind of had the impression that it was like a disc, but it wasn't. It was a tube, and it had a weird nose cone to it. So it's very strange, this object I see. And just amazing. So it's just the kind of excitement that you are a part of this, and that you get to see these spaces is just really fascinating and amazing. And yeah, and also for the first time ever, at that point, I'd been with them almost all my life, 23 years old, and I've definitely had childhood contact events and then a lot, several as a teenager and then a lot while traveling. So this idea that now I'm with a bunch of humans, and maybe I was part of something that I didn't know I was a part of. And that's the perplexity. Like, what is this? Like, what's now what's going on? Like, there's more that keeps getting revealed, and there's more that I'm not aware of that I keep getting exposed. And that's what's happening here. Something is about to be exposed, and I don't know what it is. We go into we follow the small gray, and he leads us to a down one hallway, then down another, and basically motions with his arm to enter a doorway. We all file in, and we hear, "Welcome, come sit down." And it's a very welcoming environment for us. It is a basically a couch, like a curbed couch that could sit all six of us, a coffee table. Behind the couch is a glass, almost like a greenhouse. So it's kind of a glass enclosure with plants inside. And then on the walls of the enclosure are these beautiful colors. They're like slowly and moving and shimmering, and it's like a red and orange and yellow colors, and it's very soothing colors with the plants, and it just it emanates this feeling. So interesting, right? We'll sit the way they set it up. We'll sit in front of it. So I guess it's probably maybe making us feel good from behind, right? And then we sit on the couches, and then we're facing a monitor, and then there's doorways and there's kind of empty spaces. A lot of other places are blacked out, but there's kind of this monitor, and we're about to see something. Um, so basically what I witnessed first here is uh, a really perplexing. I'd seen this in the 18th contact event again with when I saw these humans, but no interaction. That there was other entities that looked like the elder. So she's not, the elder's a very bizarre look. She's got this jaw, kind of got these cheekbones, and has this cone head, and it's a very striking appearance. Downward angled eyes. And now there's three others that look like her, and the cone is different shaped. So it has a different morph to it, or the cone has a different shape to it, with different, like maybe indentations or different fanning out. But nonetheless, they all have it. And so the elders are part of something that I didn't know about, and I'm a part of something that I didn't know about, and maybe we're all a part of something we didn't, or they know about, but we all didn't know about. Um, and so yeah, basically, I'm going to for the audience. I don't really, they can know, it's fine. I have a bit of a cheat sheet to help with some of the language, or help remember some of the dialogue that occurred here, because it's really powerful. It's really impactful and powerful, and for me, it looks like it's all adding up. This is the big picture. So basically, one of the elder entities, like my elder, she's one of the elders, gets up and starts presenting. And so she's kind of standing in front of us, and she says, Welcome, friends. This is the golden time to share, what you have become, what you have taught us, and what you have shared with us. So this idea that we have, helped them, and that this is time to understand and learn all that stuff. So she says, Siri, back in ancient human history, when humans couldn't fend for themselves, we made beings like you. But those genes are lost and long gone. They've immersed themselves into the population, and we have been looking for them again, and we found them with you. So that's very interesting. And, it paints a picture of hybrids who had been initially on the planet. John Ramirez just recently in Area 52 just confirmed what I've been saying for years, that the Celtic lineage was part of the Grey Alien hybrids. I knew that from strictly from intuition because I could feel my bond with the Grey Aliens, and then on the Earth world, I could feel it in the people who had Irish DNA, and so he's connecting and literally giving validation for this very line, that there is genetics put into the population and maybe certain types of genome configurations that the entities look for, and I don't know if it's just one body, like a genet like a Celtic. Maybe there's things within it as well too that they look for. I don't know, but the idea that there's something unique that they were looking for and they found in our genetic lineage. Um, so at that point, the entity explains who they are, and now they say Zeta Reticuli, and they kept saying this actually in my contact events. I now don't believe that to be true, but I understand why they're saying Zeta Reticuli, and that's maybe for another conversation. But bottom line is, at the point, they're just saying they're from Zeta Reticuli, and they're showing a galaxy when they do, and that's where their kind is born from, is from this place called Zeta Reticuli, what we call Zeta Reticuli, and that they'd blown across the galaxy, and that they've made friends in throughout the galaxy. And the idea here that humans are a friendly neighborhood. We're like kind of in the neighborhood, and we're friends to them. We're friendly neighborhood way. So everything is always emanating friends, friends, friends. And basically, the emphasis gets placed in this talk, in this presentation, that the human genome is valuable, and that we are a unique creation, actually. And when you really think about this, you kind of can see how this could be the case. We live out our lives. I think most humans I know struggle. We kind of all feel like, the Buddhist idea of life is suffering. And I think some people feel like, okay, yeah, life is hard, right? Life can be hard, and the things you have to deal with emotionally, and friends and family, and making a living and all that stuff. And that's like a surface, tiny little fraction of what we actually are. And though we are intelligent, we feel that all of our ingenuity is around intelligence. And can we be intelligent enough to escape the suffering? Well, there is some evidence now, some research coming out that, hey, yeah, we don't utilize all of our brain, and we don't utilize all of our DNA, and that there's other ways to maybe activate or trigger some of these things. Some scientists are looking into it. Some of the Vedas understood all these things a long time ago. And the bottom line is that we don't have our maximum potential unified or utilized. And the entities are basically saying this: we actually are a limited species that has the full capacity to expand. And so the DNA has a structure into it that has space for a lot more expansion that we utilize for the present. And so we're limited. So we actually, that limitation, and yet having the capacity to blow out fully and completely as a biological form. And when I say blowout, I mean consciousness wise. Maybe imagine the human that can float and turn into an orb and then rematerialize back. Talking about that, to having telekinesis and that type of thing, and maybe dematerializing and rematerializing with your body. So that's the stuff I think Grey Aliens do, and that I think the human has potential for. But when you're structured, when you believe you're in a denser form, you create denser structures, and then that gets a little bit harder. But the conditioning is kind of what I mean. But so that's really interesting. And so that capacity, that the idea that it has this density and a high capacity for expansion, is actually unique, that most bodies aren't designed that way. And so at least that's my interpretation now of what she was saying at the time. So I find all that really fascinating, that and so what she links it back to is that's why there's a lot of abductions. funny thing. She calls it abductions. The aliens often use my own terminology or our own terminology when they're referring to things. So that's why there's a lot of abductions. It's all in the genetics because we're taking human DNA, and your DNA is very, very valuable to us, to other species as well too. They do emphasize that they were trying to protect us from other species who were zeroing in on our DNA and wanted to use our DNA also. So, um, yeah. So what's very fascinating is our DNA. Basically, they were saying your genetics had been compiled over generations. So then we came and added things to it. And by adding things to it, then we would be able to amplify that. So we would be able to amplify it and expand it. And that's the power that we've given you now. So my whole thing has always been about this kind of DNA alteration. And that seems to be kind of the play here, that there is a DNA component to what they're doing, but they're also masters behind it, and that the human is actually really valuable to them on a kind of a DNA level. And now we were just kind of this experiment, this grand experiment, but also, yeah, experiment, but not kind of thing. And yeah, not experiment is the wrong word because we're all consciousness, and they're letting us live out our lives with that power. So I think uh, that's the most important part about it. And so yeah, the point is that, here's this thing we gave you, enjoy it and embrace it. Now, so basically then the entity is like, now it's time to meet the our friends of the Federation is how she calls it. And so out of the corner comes this crazy looking creature. I now know it to be the mantis species, or the archetype at least of the mantis. He's got his hands like this. He's got a snout, big eyes on the side with cat slits. And this is the leader, is what I call it. Call it now anyway. And he says, "Hello, everybody. I am the mastermind and builder of this great program, executed faithfully by my friends of the ancient spiritual order." And when he's emphasizing that, he's emphasizing the elders who are the friends of the ancient spiritual order. It kind of makes sense. You can kind of feel that the elder was, part of a group, these other elders, and together they all feel like nuns. It's really interesting. They have a kind of an alien nun vibration. It's very bizarre. And so they explain the Greys explained who they were from Zeta Reticuli. Da, da, da. The leader doesn't. He says, "We are something your human race won't understand." So he removes himself from telling us about himself. Then they say the other race you might be familiar with, sorry, is the humanoid race that looks like you, and out in walks a tall entity, and he's a humanoid. He's a human-looking alien, and he's about 7 feet tall. He has white, like a kind of a pale white complexion. He's muscular. He's got a jawline, and he's got long, flowing blonde hair. And he says, he says, "My race is an ancient race." So they're explaining themselves. And we've come back and forth several times to help out here and there. And that line is very interesting to me. "And we are in your Pleiades constellation." It's really interesting. "We live differently than you. We live in harmony. There are fewer of us on our planet, and we live much longer than you." And then an image was projected into our minds. And I don't know if that was the entity, the Grey is doing that. I don't know. But the city was like, they're this Pleiadian city. And it's a massive city on a planet that looks like Mars, like a red desert planet with a massive city in the center of it, or in the on the surface. And the impression here too was that the Grey aliens and this leader species, this mantis species, are too unrelatable to us. So they need a human type species in this Federation. So this idea that he's relatable to us, he's human-like, while we are too strange. And and then basically the one facilitating, the Grey alien facilitating, says, "This is our Federation. This is us. This is who you've helped." Right? So projecting in kind of excited telepathy. "You've helped us understand your genes and our role in helping humanity and humanity's growth." And then there's a command, and it's like, get up and start clapping and clap for yourselves, and for the work that we've all done. Because all of us, well, at that point I haven't learned it, but all of us have kind of gone through an experiment, and I did as well too, where our souls are pushed, right? Your mind and your body is pushed for your soul, and your soul evolves in the process. And it's challenging, man. My whole period was challenging, and but it was a growth of the soul. And now we get to kind of reward ourselves, and we're clapping, and there's this like a kind of excitement. We all got up, we all started clapping. It's almost like a command given to us, but we all fulfill it. And and then the main gray alien says, now clap for the, it doesn't say the leader, but clap for the, the main entity, the leader entity, because it was his program. So we're clapping for him now. And there's this clear, feeling for him, and the strangeness of it all, that he that he was in control of it all, and maybe the entire thing was his idea. My afterlife vision, the white room, the rising, the traveling, all of it was kind of this grand idea coming from a single individual, and not the elder herself, and the elder was just executing it. And so you're clapping, and you're really like, whoa, you're kind of like feeling that larger piece going on here. And yeah, and he actually has some words. Today is a great reward. So he's taking it in while we're clapping. Technically, you are all my children, and technically, you are all their children. We have grown you and made you into what you are. So always this idea that we're theirs, and we're bonded to them. And yeah, we will be with you for the rest of your lives. Thank you for your commitment, your hardships, struggles, loves, and hatreds. We have witnessed all of it, taken all of it, recorded all of it, analyzed all of it, and used all of it. Nothing has gone to waste. So this idea, it does get further explained that I'm wired up, and they've been taking, soul harvesting, you can say, which I don't think, it was not against my soul. It was my consciousness agreed to it. But it was a soul extraction or information extraction. So not just biological, perceptual, spiritual, right? They're taking things, and obviously it was really valuable to them. So after that, we're encouraged by the main gray alien who's facilitating this, says, now converse amongst yourselves, learn from each other, like converse with each other as humans. So okay, we start facing each other, and we start talking with each other, and we learn who each other are. So I learn, the first one I'm interacting with is a Russian fellow, and when you're communicating people, so in these environments, you're projecting telepathy, and you're projecting feeling and telepathy, but you're saying it as well too. So you're kind of like using your frame of reference, and you might say like, oh, I met the aliens in my bedroom, and then they came, and then they did this. And when they're doing that, you're giving the image of the bedroom, but you're actually saying they met me in my bedroom. So in a telepathic environment, these on craft and all this stuff, I'm picking it up. I'm picking up his imagery and his feelings, but I can also kind of hear him trying to tell me these things too. And but I'm able to decipher it all. I'm able to decipher the feelings and impressions. So I'm picking up how the entity has impacted this Russian fellow, and he's talking about being an artist, and his story was not like mine at all. He didn't have to go traveling like I did. The entities seem to use the same type of content, white room, genetic type of material where you facilitate an experience through the genes, and then how does that affect that human? And so he appeared to break free from family traditions to follow his heart to be an artist. So something like that seems mundane, but I think on the inner world of where they're taking things, that was important to them. And that's what he ended up talking about, was this relationship he had with the entities, how they facilitated this experience, and his own paintings and his own art ended up being expressions of contact when he didn't even know it. So, and then I do the same thing where I converse back, and I explain traveling period, rising, white room. And we all also framed the white room differently. which was interesting too. Some called it the like a rainbow room because there were colors in it. Glass room for some because you can't see the walls. So it's really interesting how it was like framed. Everything was kind of framed differently, but we all knew what was going on, or at least I did. I interact with the fellow from Congo, and he's a priest, and he thought he had a Christhood through the rising that they gave him. I met I met the Icelandic girl who had a relationship issues with her brothers and her family, and so these things all kind of like were used as means to elevate and to help evolve each other or help evolve the self, I guess. And the last one I thought was really fascinating too was the guy from Eastern European. I interacted with him, and his country was going through war. And at that time in 2001, I think it's Yugoslavia that's going through war. That's why I kind of think it's Yugoslavia. And and he was resisting. He was fighting fearlessness. He didn't want to be scared of the war. So then the guy is like purposely as a civilian going out into war zones, and he's not letting them, not letting the fear of the war drive him from making his choices, and the aliens were like protecting him in that process. So yeah, so the white room and genetics was well used for different purposes, and then maybe I guess the aliens were taking people's DNA. So that ends, and then we're able to go with our individual entity, our leader, our elders. So I follow the elder to a space, and it's kind of like an office space. It's dark. There are colors on the walls that are shifting, but otherwise it's a really muted environment with lots of shaded areas. And the elder tells me to sit down, and what do you want to know? And so I ask several questions about what I had heard. So I am genetically bonded to him because he's called me their children. He called the leader, the mantis, called us his children. So am I bonded to him too? And she said, so she gives me the whole thing. You are made up of yourself, which is a weird one that in DNA, this is real. The genome is actually an original human genome. Then mom and dad are interjected into it, and that's really interesting. So she says you're made up of you, your mom, your dad, me, and him. Do you get that? Do you understand this now? And so she's emphasizing, like, yeah. So I have something of him in me as well too, which is why I can presently link to him. I can telepathically interact with him as well too. Though mainly it's the elder. And then I ask about uh there's two things I ask here. One is when am I going to know? And the other is about, anyway, I think it's about when I'm going to know. So when am I going to know this? Because he also said, the leader gave the impression of some of us will know. And like, will I ever know? And she walks me over now to a screen, presses a button, and a line comes out with a bunch of, it looks like an organizational chart, one line that branches off to multiple lines. And the impression here is that we're dealing with timelines. And she's looking at the future, and she says, this is like me now. And then the branching off is timelines. And she says, we don't know what's going to happen. We've never known what's going to happen. All we have are trajectories, outlines, and plans. You make the final decision. So that's a really interesting thing when it comes down to all of this with timelines and the possibility that they might be from the future and all that, that the human emotional mind still creates variances that are unpredictable. And so, yeah. But you do need to know about yours, because she's saying to me, you do need to know about your contact events because yours is causing you pain. But you can't, for the time being, you have to live with that. And so there's no resolution there. And at that point, I'm used to those types of conversations, and with her. And then the other is that wait. So I also wanted to know. So you guys kind of explain that you've been monitoring me like a lot, like from the inside almost. And then that's when she describes to me, you have an object inside of you, and it transmits information to our computers. Oh, that's right. She shows me Uh, right. When I ask that question, you're monitoring me from the inside. She shows me on a computer, kind of the next screen almost, lines of thoughts. So they are my thoughts that I'm having in Toronto, and they're like in a database, and their thoughts. They're like, and so they're loading up my thoughts into a computer. And I'm stunned. And I'm like, you're taking my thoughts? And she's like, yeah, we had to know, from the experiment that we did with you, we had to know how it was affecting you. We needed to know everything that was happening with you on the inside. And so how did you have my thoughts? Like, how did you do this? And she's like, there's an object put inside you, and it is resonating with with a frequency of your genetics. And she's like, that's the best that I can explain that. And I was like, again, okay, there's always like something new I'm learning. You're being pushed all the time with this information. You're like, okay. And I asked one last question. It's about the Great Waves, and she can't answer the question, but it leads to the next. She said, but I can tell you some things about the future, but come with me. I said, okay. Are you done asking questions? I was like, yeah, okay, I'm done. She's like, okay. So then we walked back out. We met the group again, and all of us go collectively now we're walking filed out down the hallway and into another room. And there are medical beds for individual humans. And then at the back of this room is a glass wall. And we all come up to the glass wall, and there are hybrid babies in there. And they're hybrid children now. So this would be like a 1 or 2 year olds. And they have black eyes, and they have little thicker heads, like heads that kind of look bizarre. And yeah. So uh basically one of the elders says, these are the children of the future, and we are encouraged to come around, and we're encouraged to touch them and to interact with them. And there's a feeling here that none of these were mine, but they may have been the DNA of people who were here. It's just a weird feeling because I don't genetically connect with any of these babies, but I will connect later on with a different set of hybrids or a different set of aliens that have my DNA. So that gives me the feeling that this doesn't involve my DNA, but it does give me the feeling that they did, because I see the girl from Serbia, her response, she gets so excited, and she loves these children. It's almost like she interacted with them before. It's the same with the man from, the guy from Congo. Like they all looked really excited, and there was an impression that maybe this was their DNA and that they felt bonded to them. And I was a little bit uncomfortable. So there was always the impression that these weren't my kids or didn't have any of my DNA. But one baby comes up to me and wants me to interact with him. And we're encouraged, touch them, hold them, to the telepathy that comes out, and from the entities, from the elders. So I pick up the baby, and I'm uncomfortable with him. I'm sitting down now. I'm sitting cross-legged on the ground. But I guess maybe it was the elders. I could feel from them, they loved these babies, and they were very important to them. And I think now that they feel maybe it's saving their species. And so yeah, there was this great savior thing going on. And I guess I could kind of feel it. And I could feel that the babies were the end result of all the work we had done, of everything we had put in. And yeah. And it was pretty wild. I was uncomfortable, but then I kind of like got it. I kind of felt like, wow, these babies are going to be put on the earth. I could feel that was the whole plan. These guys are coming down. They're going to come down on earth and be part of our society. And I kind of felt like I had to help with this. I felt like this was tied to humanity's future as well, too. Humanity's survival also. And that this had to be done. So I kind of felt like a bond, like, right, like this single baby is so important to them and important to us, and will help us. This stuff will end up helping humanity. And I ended up kind of really feeling a bond in that moment. And that was that. We all kind of file out. We split off to one other group where they do some kind of genetic work on us. It's maybe too much to talk about here. There's just one other little thing where we set up. I go to another level, and I have this pink egg that I have to walk into, and the light changes something in my DNA, and they want that. It seems to mute something, and that's it. And I put my clothes back on. We all meet back at the hangar that we came in at, and there's like a goodbye, and it will be the last time I'll see the elder for about I think it's 6 years, if not 7 years. So there'll be a big gap. So I had contact events quite consistently, and now it's the big end. And there's a goodbye, and with me and the elder. And I was in discordance from all my traveling periods and what had happened. And there's discordance within me, and I couldn't rectify some things. So I'm like kind of not settled in my life. And so she cries. The elder cries. And when I say cry, I mean, she doesn't bawl as a gray alien, but she projects an emotion of tears, and she's like sad. And then she doesn't have, and then that's it. She doesn't, she projected it out, and now she's not sad anymore. And but I don't know how to rectify my life after everything that they had done with me, and I don't know what to do. So it just gets left. And I can't remember the full dialogue, but basically it's something along the lines of, oh, I don't know, it's cheeky. And anyway, I call her mom. I say, thanks, mom. And she gives a telepathic, uh, you know, chin nudge. I don't even know what this is, but it's not even her physically doing it. It's like a telepathic one. So that she's being comical, and this can happen. They can be comical like this, where she gives it like a telepathic chin nudge, and kind of go on your way, and that's it. And it ends. We all get filed into the craft again. And now all of us humans are talking. We're like, oh my God, like, what was that? Like, what was that big entity that we saw? And we all saw him for the first time, the guy with the big eyes. And so there's this kind of telepathic excitement. And then on the craft, I can actually see Toronto, and I know I have to go. And bye everybody, nice meeting you. And boom. When I'm fired back down, the memory's out. And there's this, disparity, and I'm already in my apartment, and yet I'm like thirsty and I'm tired, and but I have no knowledge of the contact events because of the way they've been able to bifurcate the memory at this point, this long in my life at that point. So because I'd had so many contact events, and that's it. That's the 23rd contact event, grand in itself. Yeah.
Wow, that's an amazing one. Thanks for sharing. Did you ever try to retrace these Earth humans?
Do you mean retrace as in draw them or
To
find
find
them?
them? Yeah.
Yeah, I have, and I've looked. I mean, what are my resources? Right, Google, right? I tried looking at UFO groups in Serbia. Tried looking for UFO groups in Congo. Does any contactees have any contactees written books who are from Serbia, from these other countries, Serbia, Iceland, Russia, and you really find a lot of shame, or just their culture isn't open like we are. And I really feel for that reality, because if people are having contact like I am, then it affected them, and maybe they can't talk about it. So I don't know what the deal is, but I have actually put energy in trying to figure out where those people could be, and were they like me? Are they talking about it in any way, shape, or form? So yeah.
Um, I find amazing that what Alex Coley said that really resembles what you brought out today is that humans are a hybridized race or
Yeah,
genetic royalty in a sense. So I like
right.
having like this sort of a corroboration or confirmation at least.
Yeah, I always look for that too myself. You got it. Yeah.
Now, just to finish off the interview a bit, because you talked briefly about the city, just to not to confuse my listeners, what's that city really all about?
Sure. You want me to just explain,
Yeah, the you
not
do
the
know
contact event, just with everything I can tell you about that city?
exactly, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So I see it in the first time I see it, the 10th contact event, 1998, and it's with the twins. And it's in context of the planet, so that there was actually a planet duress. And then the planet goes up in fire, and then it gets rebuilt. And in that rebuilding, I say these words, but I say them, I always have to be cautious. This was a hologram I was watching this on, and it was the gray mind would dominate. Now, I think the gray mind is a nature mind. So it's not dictatorial or government even. It's nothing like that. It's quantum tech. It's spirit tech. It's nature spirit tech all combined. That's what the gray mind is. And so that was dominating. And then in the center of North America on this hologram was a massive, massive city. And it was glistening, kind of a beautiful city. Also, off to the left in Southern California was a city, and I don't really know or have the answer to that part as well too. Maybe one day I'll search for those deeper meanings. But yeah, so that was the first time I saw that, and I didn't really have a wave. I didn't. I just saw it without really, digesting it or knowing what to do with that information. It was in context to the new humans, to the hybrids being put down. So that was for certain, but that was it. That's all I had at the time. Then I don't learn about it until so this the premise is there were some planet event topics mentioned in my contact events. And then after the planet events would be this new city would be placed. So in the 25th contact event, so just in 2016, so whatever, almost 10 years ago now, was the contact event where I got my memories released, where she's like, your memories are now open. You can access them. Didn't really frame it that way, but you're able to, access these memories, and we want you to write them out and tell them we're coming and there'll be a new city. So she projects into my mind with her eyes, right? They have these ways of kind of creating imagery inside your space, and it's the city, and it's the city I saw in the 10th contact event. Now it's blown. Now I'm able to look at it with detail, and I can see it's like got these massive pillars, massive towers that are like an emerald, a metallic emerald is the best way to frame it. Not emerald, not green emerald, but metallic looking. And I guess it just feels like not metal. It's not metal like our human metal. It's like an emerald. It's like some type of material that is just a magical type of metal. And then in the streets and cities, or the streets of the city, are hybrids. So, and I knew them to be the babies that I had interacted with in the 23rd contact event, now grown up. And I had to facilitate getting them here. And they were they were babies now growing up, and they were not wearing, we see all these entities, even in our descriptions, we see them wearing jumpsuits all the time. Well, this entity was wearing t-shirts and pants, so it was trying to be a human while having the bald head of a gray alien and the black eyes of a gray alien. Otherwise, it had full arms, and it's kind of the strength of its body, emphasizing its dexterity, emphasizing its physical stature. So yeah, that was the gist of the city, was showing that detail. I have since learned, like you mentioned, cooperation. I forget his name, but I have him in my on my website. I have a Researching the Rising portal, and my 10th contact event, I list the contactee from the 60s, I think he's, or 70s, Patrick McGuire. That's who it is. Patrick McGuire was told to dig a well, and he was in Idaho, I think it is. It's in the middle of America, by the way. And so he's told to dig a well, and when you, by the aliens, dig a well, and when you do, that water will be needed after a cataclysm occurs on your planet. And that well, all the geographers at the time said, you're nuts, don't build this, or don't dig this, there's no point, there's nothing there. And of course, Patrick McGuire accessed for the first time the oligo aquifer, something like that. Oligo aquifer, the largest aquifer in North America. So a contactee knew its location. This location is the spot where I saw a massive city would be placed. So it's very weird how he's told about a planet event. You'll need this water afterwards. I'm actually seeing a city placed over top of it. I'll be told that that city will be placed after a planet event. Very weird. So yeah, that's the gist of it. And it's, as far as I'm aware, it will be a consciousness technology city. And yeah, I emphasized the last chapter of the book to talk about what I knew, that we needed to evolve, and you need to want to, you know, discover your consciousness to interact with their tech. And to do so, you get to play with their toys. You get to be in their environments, which would be a city like this. Yeah.
Did you ever figure out roughly what time or year this might happen?
Yeah, everyone asks always about the years. I have no knowledge about timelines. Um, all I stick with and still believe in 2027, which was John Ramirez. I pick it up from John Ramirez that the government was behind a 10-year soft disclosure program, and I still I still lean towards that. What 2027 would be, I have no idea. If that's just the knowledge, and we're still dealing with years of the entire humanity knows all the picture, but we can't interact with them yet. Maybe it's something like that. I don't know. Yeah, I still don't know what's going to happen here.
I'd like to show everyone your book here.
Awesome.
So yeah, it's an amazing book. It's an amazing read. I had me and Mrs. Gray, we both read it, and we had trouble putting it down.
Awesome.
So it's available on Amazon, I believe.
That's correct. Yeah. 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 On my website too. You can go to my website, www.jeffselver.com, and the link to the Amazon page is there as well too.
Awesome. Jeff, thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah.
You're an amazing speaker. I'm always amazed at what you give out, and I'm always also I always get emotional when you talk about these events.
Thank you.
Contactee events, they're amazing, and I'm somewhat envious, and you're the real deal. So thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, thanks, buddy. Thanks again for having me. Third time on. Really appreciate it, Mr. Gray. You got such a great platform here, and I really appreciate all the work you do for all the other contactees. It's fantastic. So thanks so much.
We definitely need you on for part 4. So
done. I'm all for it. You got it.
To those watching, I hope you enjoyed today's interview. I'm your host, Mr. Great. More interviews coming up, and I will see you guys next time. So take care, everyone.
Take care. Bye.
Hello, everyone. This is Mr. Great, and thanks for watching today's episode. If you are an abductee, contactee, or experiencer, and you believe that your story could help others, please feel free to contact me through my YouTube channel email. When it comes to experiencers, the ET phenomena, and the future, remember, truth will out.